ahead and take a moment to get all centered in, feeling how we're feeling today at the beginning of the week. So as you find your seated position, just allow your shoulders to relax. Make sure your head feels like it's balanced on top of the spine. Close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And then take a deep breath in through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. Just take a moment to really feel into your body. Don't let anything escape your notice. And then let's begin to breathe a little deeper and slower. Ujjayi breathing is always preferable. So as we're doing our Ujjayi breath, not only are we bringing in more oxygen and life force into the body, we're soothing the central nervous system with that little aspirated sound. And so that affords you the opportunity to look at thought patterns, just kind of observe the mind. Bring awareness to any emotions those thought patterns might be creating. And then also just notice your energy. And then if there's anything at all about any of those areas that you would like to change or enhance, then you can use that in your intention. So bring your palms together in front of your heart. Decide what you want, decide what you need, decide what you're willing to allow. Be clear about your intention, and then take a deep breath in. Big sigh. Good. So we're just going to start with some seated cat-cows, pretty easy. The head is not going to go back and forth. You want to keep your chin parallel to the ground. But as you inhale, heart pushes forward. As you exhale, you're rounding the back. Inhale, chest forward. Exhale, chest back. Do this 3 more times. And as you finish this last one, just transition onto your hands and knees, and we'll do the real deal cat-cows. This time your head can follow the rest of your spine. Every time you breathe in, the back arches. Every time you breathe out, the back rounds. On your next natural exhale, just go ahead and take your backside to your heels, forehead down for your child's pose. And then we're going to scoot forward into Sphinx. Just take a moment here, big toes touching, heels dropping open, pulling some length into your low back and opening the chest all at the same time. And then take your first downward facing dog. Feel free to pedal the feet a little bit or do any other movements you need to, just to get your body acclimated to your spine lengthening, heart opening down dog. From this downward facing dog, we're going to walk our feet forward, keeping the knees bent so that we can just hang over our thighs, dangling our head at the end of our spine, allowing the back to lengthen. And then on your next inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead. Spread your fingers, lift your heart, look up if you can. Just take a couple of nice, slow, deep breaths here. And then on your next exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Before we even do any other movement, I'd like you to go ahead and grab your strap or whatever you might be using as a strap. We're just going to do some chest opening to begin with. So your arms need to be straight. And this is going to be different for all of us, right? It just depends upon your shoulder mobility, shoulder health, etc. This should not hurt. And you should also feel something. So you may need to go wider if you can't keep your arms straight. You may need to go narrower if you don't feel anything. We're going to inhale and take those straight arms behind us. When you feel your maximum stretch point, pause. Finish the inhale completely. As you initiate your exhale, that's when you initiate the movement of the hands coming all the way down behind you. Good. And then we reverse that movement. You're going to inhale, bring it back up, hold it at that stretch point until your inhale is finished. And then as you exhale, you press back overhead. So if you didn't feel anything, go a little narrower. If you felt your elbows bend or buckle, go a little wider. Here we go. We're inhaling back, feeling that stretch, and then exhaling as we press through. Doing the same thing, coming back up, inhaling, finishing the inhale at that maximum stretch point, and then exhaling and pressing overhead. 2 more times, down and back at your own breath rate. As you finish that out, you can just draw up your strap. Keep it within reach, but you're done with it for now. Let's warm up the rest of the body a little bit. So feet together, palms together. Just take a moment, really feeling the earth down beneath your feet. Just connect down for a moment. Feel how supported you are. And then take a big inhale and reach your arms up. As you exhale, go ahead and fold all the way forward. Look up halfway and lengthen. And then back down. We're going to step back with our left foot. Just hold the lunge for a moment. Allow your hips to drop a little bit if you can. Drop your left knee down. We're going to raise the arms up and overhead. Pelvis tilts, rib cage lifts. Everything moves forward so that we can find that stretch on the front of the left hip, left thigh. So the muscles at the base of your left glute, your left buttock, should be contracted. That way there's a reflex release happening on the front side of the hip. Maintain your hip opening, but bring your hands down behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. You can keep the hands down kind of by your left bun and slide the hands down slightly if it feels okay with your back, meaning you're sliding your hands down the back of the left thigh, getting a little bit more of a heart opener. Come on back up from that. Bring your arms into a W shape. So bending the elbows and squeezing them back and down slightly, also a nice chest opener. And then hands down on either side of your right foot. Gaze forward. Try and keep your back flat if you can. You're going to extend your right leg all the way if you can. Maybe even flex the right ankle and toes. And then if you've got enough movement left in you after extending the right leg, try and extend your spine. That means your heart is pulling forward while your tailbone is pulling back. From here, we're going to bend the right knee. I would like for you to walk your right foot forward a little bit. Bring your right hand to the inside of your right foot. Now, please feel free to use a block or something here. If you can, come onto your left forearm. So what we're trying to get here, you're going to feel a little bit of a stretch in your right hamstring, but I'd like you to tuck your tailbone under slightly and see if you can get a stretch on the front of your left hip in this same pose. If you're not feeling it, you might scoot that right foot forward a little more, or even scoot the left knee back. Take a couple more breaths. Come back up onto your hands. From here, I'm going to have you step straight back, downward facing dog. Lengthen your spine. Notice how everything is feeling. Your legs should already be waking up. Chest might be warm and starting to feel more pliable. Take a big step forward with your left foot. Hold your lunge. And again, here in this lunge, seeing if you can allow the hips to sink enough that in addition to feeling your left hamstring, you're also feeling a little bit in the front of that right hip. Go ahead and drop the right knee down and we'll really get into it. Bring the arms up and overhead. Pelvis tilts back, rib cage lifts. The hips move forward. So you really want to make sure you're contracting the muscles on the back side of your right hip. So that's by your glute, so that the front of the hip releases. Now maintain that hip stretch. Bring the hands behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, but just kind of slide your hands down the back of the right thigh. And then release your hands. Bring them into a W shape. Squeeze the shoulders down, the elbows down, and back. From here, hands on either side of the left foot. Extend your left leg. Get it as straight as you can. Flex the ankle and toes of the left foot. And then hopefully you can still get a little bit of extension in your spine as well. So your chest is pulling forward, your hips are pulling back, your spine is lengthening, your left leg is lengthening. You can feel it in your hamstring. And then we're going to bend the left knee, and I'd like you to scooch it or walk it forward more than you think you want to, but just trust me on that. And then take your left hand to the inside of the left leg. Use a block if you need to, or if you can, just come onto your right forearm. Maybe the left one comes down, maybe not. But again, the idea here is not only do we want to feel this in our left hamstring, but we want to feel it in the front of the right hip as well. You might even have to kind of tuck the tailbone under to get that, but try and get that subtle opening on the front of the right hip. Come back up onto your hands. Just step straight back to downward facing dog. Stretch it out. Really press those hips up and back. And then we're going to drop down to the knees. And what I'd like for you to do is just find your way gently onto your stomach with your hands where they are now, if you can. So that means they're going to kind of be back by your rib cage, right? Not up underneath the shoulders, but a little further back by the rib cage. Those of you with back issues, you're going to be exceptionally mindful and careful. I'd like you to squeeze your feet together. Push your pubic bone into the mat. You're going to feel your buns really tighten. We're just doing a baby cobra. Shoulders roll down, elbows squeeze in. Just lift the chest a little bit. And then downward facing dog again. From here, drop down to the knees. Bring your left forearm across the front of the mat. Let your forehead rest on your left forearm.
Reach your right arm very strongly out in front of you while you pull your tailbone back and allow that right armpit to move towards the mat. But you got to keep the right elbow straight to actually get the stretch. So take a couple of breaths here. You should feel it opening your chest, your right armpit, and the back of the right arm, the triceps. Now listen, we're going to transition out of this differently. What I want you to do is come back up onto the right hand, the left hand. Extend your right leg out while your left foot kicks back. Go straight into a modified side plank with your right hand reaching towards the ceiling, and then roll your chest open. Nice stretch all the way across the chest. Maybe a little more on the right side. Take one more breath. Right hand and right knee come back down, and now the right forearm goes across the mat. Your forehead rests on your right forearm. Your left arm reaches strongly forward. Tailbone reaches back. Left armpit sinks down towards the floor, so you feel this in the left side of your chest. Your left armpit and the back of the left arm. Remember that left elbow has to stay straight to get that maximum stretch. So here we go, transitioning into our modified side plank. Come back up onto the left hand, the right hand. Your right foot kicks out while your left leg extends. Left arm up towards the ceiling, and then roll your chest open. Again, you should feel this all the way across the chest, but perhaps a little more on the left side. Bring your left hand and your left knee back down. Those of you doing traditional vinyasas, off you go. The rest of us will take a child's pose. If you're in child's pose with me, scoot forward into either Sphinx or Cobra, whichever one feels better to you. And then downward facing dog. Now, from this downward facing dog, we're going to walk our feet forward. Take a deep breath in, reach the arms up and overhead. And as we exhale, bring our palms together in front of our hearts. So we're going to be using our straps for dancer pose today. And the idea is it's going to be opening up our chest and the backs of the arms and the armpits, as well as the front of the hips. So you have to make sure that you're doing this correctly. So here's the deal. If you feel like your balance challenged today, no worries, go lean against something sideways, because both of your hands are going to be busy, because we're going to do this the traditional way. Now, you don't have to have a loop in your strap, but let me show you really quickly what I'm hoping you will accomplish in your dancer today. When you loop a foot, here's what I'm going to ask you to try and do is get your elbow pointing at the ceiling and have the other hand join it. Now, a lot of people like to stay here and pull with their arms. I'm going to ask you to do the opposite. You're going to shorten the distance between your hands and your foot. In other words, you're going to walk your hands down the strap, and then you're going to push your foot back so that you open up your triceps, your armpit, your chest, and the front of the hip. That's my wish for you, my suggestion. So let's give this a shot. Again, if you need to lean against something, do. It's really all about the stretch today, right? So let's stand on the right foot first. If you loop your left foot and hold your strap in your left hand, you can kind of sling that leg up and back. Left elbow should point at the ceiling. Then grab your strap with your right hand as well and begin to walk the hands down the strap closer to your foot until you're at the point where your body says that's enough. Then you're going to tilt your pelvis back, push back with your foot and allow the arms to go back. So in other words, you feel this in the back of your arms, you feel your armpits, you feel your chest, you feel the front of your left hip. You're breathing, I hope. And then come on down from that. Let's do the other side. Loop that right foot, stand on the left. If you hold the strap in the right hand, you can bring that leg behind you, elbow points at the ceiling. And then we're reaching back, trying to shorten the distance between our hands and our foot. Push the foot back to get the chest and the back of the arms to open. You should feel this on the front of your right hip as well. And release out. Strap goes beside the mat so you can catch it later. Feet together, hands together. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Inhale, look up and lengthen. Exhale, back down. Those of you doing traditional vinyasas, you may do one. The rest of us are going to step back and take a child's pose for about 3 breaths to just kind of let the back round out after that back bending, heart opening pose. Scoot forward into either Sphinx or Cobra if you were in child's pose with me. And then we'll all meet in downward facing dog. Now from this down dog, we're gonna drop down to the knees again. You did a half heart opener. Now we're gonna do the full heart opener, still opening up armpits, chest, triceps. Be mindful if you have shoulder issues. Try and keep your thighs vertical, so don't let the hips move forward or back. Just start extending your arms out in front of you. You're either gonna let your forehead hit the mat, or maybe it's your chest. Keep the arms straight. And then come all the way up from that and come to kneeling. So we're going to do half camel because I want you to reach an arm up and overhead rather than reaching the arms back. You can turn your toes under if you like. You can keep your hands on the low back if you like. But what we're going to do is still open up chest and armpit. So I'd like you to have your left hand on your left hip. Tuck the tailbone under, tilt the pelvis back, push the hips forward. Lift your chest for length in the spine. Reach the right arm up and back, palm facing up. If you want to, left hand can grab left heel, but it's not necessary. Feel the opening in the right side of the chest, right armpit, maybe even the back of the right arm. Come all the way up. Put your right hand at your hip. Tuck the tailbone under, tilt the pelvis back. Push the hips forward. Lift the rib cage up. Reach the left arm up and back, preferably with that palm facing up. And then if you choose to, you can reach back to the right heel with the right hand. You don't have to though. And just keep opening left side of the chest, left armpit, left tricep. And we come on up from there. Take another child's pose. Round out your back. Take a couple of breaths. And then from here, go straight into downward facing dog. From your down dog, you're going to walk your feet forward.
Take a nice deep breath in as you reach the arms all the way up and overhead. Exhale, bring your palms together in front of your heart. So we're gonna turn sideways on the mat. Take a moderately wide stance. It doesn't have to be super wide. Toes are gonna rotate out a little bit, whatever is appropriate for your knees to follow your second toe. So we're just gonna be going into a goddess squat for a couple of breaths. What that's gonna look like, and please modify, if you've got knee issues, maybe you don't do the squat, maybe you stay standing, it's up to you. We'll be bending the knees, poking the tailbone back, making sure the knees press out towards the little toes, but we're gonna be doing an overhead grip, right? Interlacing fingers, palms pressing up. So you'll notice when you do that, the front of the body opens, right? We want that. So from here, with fingers interlaced and palms pressing up, you slowly start to poke your tailbone back and bend the knees, but your knees press out, out to the sides. And you keep lifting your chest. Let's take 3 breaths here. Straighten your legs, release the arms. Just move your heels out, and now you'll have a wider stance and your feet will be parallel. Just grab your elbows, hinge at your hips, relax your neck, and hang. Take a couple of breaths, letting the spine lengthen in this direction. And then from here, hands to the mat, just toe heel your feet together. Take a big inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. So your looped, it's not looped, your strap without the loop should still be by your mat. We're gonna kind of do the same thing we did with dancer, but we're gonna do it with bow pose, Dhanurasana, on our stomachs. So I want you to inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold all the way forward. Look up halfway, and then all the way back down. You're gonna step back either to a plank position or hands and knees and find your way all the way down to your stomach. Now, what I'm gonna have you do is start with a half bow. It's basically like doing dancer on your stomach. And then for those of you who feel you can, we'll try a full one. But here's the deal, it's gonna be that same overhand grip. Instead of reaching back, we're reaching overhead. Let's start by looping the right foot. You wanna hang onto your strap in your right hand and then get that elbow pointing forward. Same thing we did earlier, shorten the distance between your hands and your foot. Push the foot back to just lift a little bit of your chest and stretch out. Take one more breath here. So your left foot's still on the ground. Go ahead and lower down. Let go with your right hand, it'll make it easier. I like to just slide my left foot in and slide my right foot out. It's an easier way to catch the leg. You should have your strap with your left hand now, elbows pointing forward. Reach back with your hands to grab the strap and then push the leg back to lift the chest and open up the back of the arms. Right foot is still on the ground. Lower down. Now, here's the deal. If that seemed excessively challenging for you, then you can just repeat that, one on each side. If you feel like you're ready to go for the goal, this is the hardest thing I'll ask you to do today, then we're gonna do both feet and both hands. So, if you're gonna play like that, the easiest way to do it, at least for me, is to loop one foot and then slide the other foot in with it. So you got both feet in the strap. You've got your strap in your hands. You're shortening the distance between the hands and the feet, and then you push the feet back to lift the chest. And lower down. From there, press straight up and back, downward facing dog and stretch. You can pedal out the feet a little bit if you want, because I know
Somebody probably got a little bit of a hamstring cramp because that's a really tight contraction in the hamstrings. If you did get one, no worries. This will stretch it out. Take a couple more breaths here. And then you can walk your feet forward and have a seat. Keep your strap nearby for good stuff once we're on our backs. But for now, come into Dandasana. Legs extended, straight spine, hands on the floor. Take a moment and check in. So when I had you check in at the beginning of class, your body felt a certain way. Notice if it still feels the same or if it's different. I asked you to check in with your thought processes. Those have probably shifted because you've been really busy focusing on what you were doing. And your emotions may have changed because heart opening, back bending postures allow a lot of sadness, grief, etc. to leave if we have it, but it also allows a lot of joy and happiness. And so hopefully that's true for you. You might also notice that you feel more energized. At a physiological level, when the heart is open, when the chest is open, I should say, your heart is a muscle. When the chest is open, there's more space for your heart to beat and more space for your lungs to expand. That's a pretty simplistic explanation, but it works. So we're gonna inhale and reach the arms up, lift the chest. And then as you exhale, push your chest forward towards your feet. So even though it's a forward bend, we keep the heart somewhat open here. Take a couple of breaths. That forward bending move should feel really good on the low back. And then if you would like to turn it into a full counter pose, while you're still leaning forward, start to allow your head to drop. Let the chin tuck into the little notch in your collarbone and just keep rolling down until you feel your entire back stretching. Come on up from that. We're going to keep the right leg straight. Bring the left foot to the inside of the right thigh. Lean out over your right leg. Now, wherever your right hand is the perfect place for it. What we're going to do is extend the left hand kind of up towards the ceiling. So what you're trying to do here is roll your chest open. Yet again, getting some heart opening. Just letting that left arm drop back as much as your shoulder allows. Come all the way back down, lengthen out over that right leg again. And then come up, extend the left leg, bring the right foot to the inside of the left thigh. Lean out over your left leg. Wherever the left hand is perfect place for it to stay. We're just going to rotate and take right hand up towards the ceiling, trying to roll the chest open as much as possible, letting the right arm drop behind us as much as our shoulder allows. Bring that right hand down, just lengthen out over your left leg again. Come on up. Bring your left foot to meet your right foot. Hands by your backside. Lift your chest, press the knees out to the side and down towards the ground. And then just an easy cross-legged position. Just a little bit of a twist and one last slight chest opener before I get you on the ground, and then you'll get to do some yummy stuff with your strap. So here's what I'd like for you to do. You're just going to put your right hand beside your right hip on the ground, and I apologize, I'm not mirroring you, so you'll look opposite from me. You're going to bring your left hand behind your head. What I'd like you to do is just kind of start reaching that left elbow up towards the ceiling and back. Then come back up and put your left hand on your right knee. Slide your right hand farther behind you, straight spine. Twist and look over the right shoulder. And then come back around. Put your left hand beside your hip on the floor, right hand behind your head. So first you kind of point that right elbow up towards the ceiling and then open it back. Get a little bit of a chest stretch on the right side. And then come back up and just put your right hand on your left knee. Slide your left hand a little farther behind you. Chest is lifting as you twist to look over your left shoulder. Rotate back around. Go ahead and make sure your strap is within reach. Roll onto your back, hug your knees in, and rock side to side. So from here, we're going to go ahead and do our very last back bend, which is bridge pose. And we're going to work it for that. We're going to really make sure that the heart is opening. And so I'd like you to go ahead and put your feet down with your big toes touching and your heels separated. We want the front of the hips to open and we want the heart to open. So the first thing I want you to do is tuck your tailbone under, tilt the pelvis back and begin to lift the hips. Now, if you've got back issues, you might have just a really neutral spine here. That's fine, but keep your pelvis strongly tilted and push through the heels to lift your hips as far as you comfortably can. Then I want you to actually put your hands at the bottom of your rib cage and just help it up a little bit. It's like you're trying to tilt the bottom of the rib cage up towards the ceiling. You're going to feel your chest move towards your chin, not the opposite. Push through the heels, feel the front of the hips open. If you can, raise the arms up and over your head onto the floor. That'll lift the rib cage higher. Take 2 more breaths, push your hips towards the ceiling, lift the rib cage, breathe, and then on your next exhale, lower down. Hug your knees in. And rock. No more back bending today, but you should feel pretty good for what you've done. So now we'll just enjoy some little yummy hamstring stuff with our strap. I'd like you to keep your right knee hugged in and extend your left leg all the way out. Just keep the right knee snugged into your chest for a moment. This helps really shorten up what you just lengthened. And then grab your trusty strap. Loop it over your right foot, right around the arch. The first thing I want you to do is straighten your right leg completely. Now, if you can't get it straight up towards the ceiling, that's fine. It might be pointing towards the other foot. That's cool. But the first thing I want you to do is flex your foot, keep the leg really straight, and literally pull down towards the floor in such a way that you feel the back of your right hip really connecting to the earth. So like you're not letting that right hip disconnect at all from the mat. You're pulling down with it. And then maintaining that really straight right leg. Go slowly and start to bring the leg towards you until you feel an appropriate amount of stretch. No farther, no bending of the knee. So if you bend your knee, of course you can get your leg farther back, but you'll miss part of the goodness of the stretch. Keep your foot flexed. Try and find sensation in the back of the right leg. We're going to take 2 more breaths here. And so this part's pretty important. You remember that snugging down that we did at the beginning? Keep that. Grab the strap with your left hand. Your right leg should be straight. You still want that right hip really connected to the mat. So this is a tiny movement. Keep your right hip snugging down and just begin to bring a very straight right leg across the body. You should pretty quickly feel this in that outer hip and in the hamstrings. You're not trying to lift the glute and roll over. You're trying to keep your right glute very connected, even pulled down with pressure on the sole of the foot while the leg moves slightly towards the midline. Take one more breath. And take the strap off your right foot, hug your right knee in. Bring your left knee up to meet it. And then we'll extend the right leg all the way out into the ground and just hug that left knee for a couple of breaths. Loop your left foot with your strap, preferably around the arch. So same thing we did on the other side. Straighten your leg, even if it's not straight up, that's okay. Pull on the strap towards the ground. So like you're trying to really apply pressure to the back of the left hip, the back side of the pelvis to keep it connected to the ground. Once you get that, try and maintain it. Keep your left leg straight. And we just start to pull the leg towards us a little more until we feel the right amount of hamstring stretch. And this is different for everybody. Some of you guys may have your leg up by your face. Some of you may have your leg pointing the opposite direction towards your other foot. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It matters what it feels like. Keep that left glute really planted, left hamstring stretching. And then we're going to bring the leg back up a little bit. Keep that downward pressure on the sole of the foot so that your left hip is really glued to the ground. Grab the strap in the right hand. Keep your left leg straight. It's a tiny movement to bring the left leg towards the midline of the body, keeping that left glute really secured to the mat, keeping the left leg straight and the foot flexed. This will get into your iliotibial band a little bit. If you have tight hamstrings, you're feeling it. Take one more breath. And then bring your leg back up. You can remove your strap and set it off to the side. You're done with it for today. Hug your knees in. Rock side to side. So just getting the back to be happy and release. After you're done rocking side to side, if it feels okay on your back, I'd like you to rock forward and backward. It can be a tiny movement or it can be sitting like to plow. It's up to you. Now, if your back doesn't like a forward and back movement, just keep going side to side. But if you can rock forward and back, you'll really get a nice benefit of the floor kind of massaging you. Kind of helps your spine realign, makes your muscles forgive you for everything that you've just done. Do it a couple more times if you are rocking back and forth. And then you can just stay on your back, hug the knees, and rock side to side. So we're going to keep the knees bent and together and drop them over to the right, all the way down, letting that left arm open out to the left with the palm facing up. Just allow that left side of the chest, its final gentle opening. Most of you have opened enough that your left arm is on the floor. So it's just a nice, gentle twist with a gentle heart opener on the left side. If it's all right with your neck, your head should turn to the left. One more breath on this side. And then we're going to inhale the legs back up. As you exhale, you're going to drop both knees over to the left. Allow that right arm to open out to the right with your palm facing up. And so again, maybe getting a little chest stretch, maybe not, just depends on your body. But you want the right side of the chest to have the capacity to open while your spine is twisting and your head is turning to the right. On your next inhale, the legs are going to come back up. As you exhale, hug them in. Reach down and grab your feet and wiggle around a little bit for a happy baby. Just test things out. How does everything feel? Have you rounded your back enough after your backward bends? Have you twisted enough? Do your hips feel released? Are the hamstrings okay? Just notice everything. We've got about 3 more breaths here, so if there's anything else you need to do, you can do it. And when you feel like you're ready, put your feet flat on the mat, ankles and knees together. As you exhale, let both knees drop to one side. As you inhale, bring them back up. And as you exhale, drop them the opposite direction. It can be a tiny movement. It doesn't have to be a full-on twist. Just see what your body wants. Coordinating each movement with your natural breath rhythm. So what you should be getting is a nice, slow, gentle rolling of the hips, which allows for twisting of the spine, which is basically a neutralizer. What we're doing right now is taking our spine back to neutral. It's arched, it's rounded, and now we're taking it back to neutral. Next time that your knees come to the center, let them drop away from each other. The soles of your feet should be touching with your feet on the mat. We're going to take a deep breath in, tilt the pelvis back, press the low back into the mat. Just hold it while you're breathing. So you're allowing the muscles on either side of the spine one last opportunity to lengthen. And then as you exhale, you're going to feel your pelvis tilt forward again. That natural arch will return to your spine. One last time, inhale, flatten your low back, press your navel down so that the back is completely flat against your mat. And then the next time you breathe out, relax, begin to extend your legs, separate the feet, just the right amount for today. Make sure your spine feels really long and supple. And that includes your neck, by the way. The shoulders are relaxing away from the ears. The arms are preferably down below the height of the shoulder with the palms facing up. Relax your jaw, close your eyes, soften your forehead. Take a really deep breath in through your nose. Big exhale through the mouth. As you give yourself over to Shavasana, as you surrender to this pose that is the embodiment of surrender. And so for a lot of people, the idea of surrender seems scary. It seems vulnerable. But when we surrender, particularly to something greater than ourselves, we're actually shedding our burdens. We're actually allowing something greater than us to carry us, to take care of us. That surrender, which this pose embodies, should be the sweetest feeling. It's a letting go, but with a sense of ultimate security. There's nothing risky about it. To be vulnerable is to be open, and to be open is how we receive
the myriad gifts that are available to us all the time if we choose to accept them. If we stay closed and we stay hard, we don't get those things. So I want you to think of your pose today as the ultimate surrender, which is, in fact, the ultimate self-nurturing act. Notice if you have any resistance to the idea of or the act of surrendering. Those of us who like to be in control sometimes have a hard time surrendering that control, conveniently forgetting that we're really never in control anyway. How does it feel to surrender into something safe? How does it feel to surrender into love? Because I promise you, you are surrendering into love because you are love. At your core, deep down, you are that. Begin to feel back into your body, feeling the physical effects of your practice. And then notice the mental, emotional, and energetic effects of your practice. Start deepening your breath and moving your fingers and toes so that on your next deep inhale, you can spread the fingers and toes and then exhale through your mouth and relax them. And then breathe in even deeper and just stretch like you stretch when you wake up in the morning, and exhale with a happy sigh as you relax. Bend your knees. Roll to your right side. And from there, press up into sitting. So as you find that straight spine with the relaxed shoulders, just take a moment to notice how you feel. So for our breath work today, we're just going to do a heart breath. And I just want you to imagine that as you breathe in, you're breathing in through the crown of the head, and it's coming all the way down to your tailbone. So heaven and earth, you are connected between the two. As you exhale, though, that breath is going to come from the tailbone back up the spine, but it's going to shoot out the heart. So you're inhaling through the crown of the head all the way down to the base of your spine. And as you exhale, you're breathing back up about halfway to the center of your chest and exhaling out in that direction. So just a nice Ujjayi breath. You can envision your breath as a beam of light, if that appeals to you, or you can simply imagine that you feel the energy entering through the top of the head and traveling all the way down the spine and then coming back up and exiting the heart. Or you can even talk yourself through it if you need to. All nose breathing, please. Breathing in through the crown of the head to the tailbone, exhaling from the tailbone up to the heart and out. And then just slowly bring your palms together in front of your heart. Take a moment in gratitude for your heart, for the muscle that beats inside your chest, that's been beating since before you were born, and does an amazing job of distributing blood and oxygen throughout your body, keeping you alive. And take a moment in gratitude for your emotional and energetic heart, the place where infinite love resides, unconditional love. Gratitude for the fact that you can open your heart to allow that infinite love to flow in and out so that you can share your gifts with the world and so that you can receive the gifts that are offered to you minute by minute. Take one more huge deep breath in through your nose. Big sigh. When we bring our palms together at our foreheads, it just reminds us to be present, to pay attention, to be aware. When we bring our palms together in front of our mouths, it reminds us to speak our truth and to also speak our gratitude. And when we bring our palms together in front of our hearts, it reminds us to honor our hearts. It reminds us that we are love. We have an infinite supply of it to give and receive. And it reminds us to keep our hearts open so that that works. Thank you so much for joining me this day. Namaste.